here with Akshay Sethi. I said it right.
You did.
All right. So this is a constant challenge for me and people's names.
Yeah. Especially in fashion, every sort of name is on the table.
That's right. And I'm from New Jersey, and we're just not good at that kind of thing, you know. But I'm working on it. But you and I actually met
a while ago. A year and a half in London.
No, it was the Global Change
Award.
Award.
Yeah, it was even before that.
On stage.
Yeah, the first time.
Yes. Yeah. So there you were as one of the finalists.
5 winners, yeah.
And the 5 winners, and there I was.
Yeah.
Just introducing
you.
So it's very cool to see the kind of development that I think is going on with your company. So now you're in another program, which is the scaling program, sponsored by Fashion for Good. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So we'll get to that. Yeah. But it's great to get a chance to reconnect and see how things have gone. So for the listeners, I think it's though important to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And to tell us the story. You know, why are you here? How did you get here, man?
Yeah. I think if you asked me 4 years ago if you thought I would be in fashion, I'd be like, no way. Are you kidding me? It's the furthest from my goals. But I was really into building things. I thought construction industry was cool. I thought the mining industry was awesome. I was really fascinated by how things were made. And so it always stuck with me, like how are the things that we use on a day-to-day basis made? And I found that everything we have is pretty complex. Nothing more than fashion, almost. Because the supply chain is so much. But I was really into science as well. So was doing research at a laboratory at my university.
Which is where?
UC Davis.
Okay.
So it's in Northern California. It's known for its wine.
I lived in San Francisco for a while, and I had a friend from Davis. He was a runner.
Oh,
and they were very proud of their running team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Davis, yes.
We're there. Decided to go work for a company. And realized I quickly couldn't do it, and I needed to do my own thing, and that was the only way I would be happy. So, was working on this technology to recycle plastics.
Was that part of your research, your graduate degree?
I think it was. I think I started doing it because it was for a research school course thing, but then I just kept on going with it after a couple months because I just loved it. I loved doing the science. It was always really fascinating to go and say, hey, I have this idea for the reality of the world, but it's not real yet. Can I do stuff with my hands to make it real?
Okay.
And to me, plastics was always kind of an issue that no one was taking a technical approach to. So there's a lot.
Is your degree in chemistry or what?
Yeah, biochemistry.
Biochemistry.
And so that sort of genesis in engineering microbes and engineering chemistry to do things that before weren't possible. Okay. So that was kind of the whole reason.
And so this is how long ago?
This is 2013. 2014.
Okay.
So I was 20.
You were 20, and you found this passion.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to work with the biochem. I want to with sort of science. Plastics in particular and science.
Yeah.
And so then, how did that then translate into? Suddenly you're working with plastics for this industry.
Yeah, I think I wasn't taking the thing all too seriously. I was basically like, oh, this is really a really cool project. Didn't want to start a company. Didn't think that would be a viable thing to do. Got talked into a free pizza event, which happened to be a business plan competition. So went for the free pizza, stayed for the idea of becoming rich. Started there, and kind of no one really killed it. Everyone was like, oh, it kind of just started going, and people would say, oh yeah, this is a really interesting idea. And I, again, I was 21, 20. I was thinking of all sorts of different things at that age. So I wasn't taking the thing seriously. And then it kind of...
But what was, at that time, when you were at the pizza party, the pitch, what was the idea then?
The idea was to turn waste plastics into something useful. And potentially work on the ocean plastic problem, or potentially work on the landfill problem, but use science to do something more valuable with it. Didn't know what it was working on some interesting science that was around separating polymers at the molecular level. So that was the whole genesis, like, oh, if you could do this on waste material, that's really valuable. So that's where it all started.
And then, I don't want to fast forward, I just want to know then, you're working on this, these are projects, and when are you taking it seriously suddenly?
Yeah, so after I graduated, I was like, what else? What am I to do with my life? I think humans are pretty bad at judging risk. So is it really risky to start a company? I think traditionally people would say yes. I think it's actually quite no. Because at the time I was 21, had a couple of job opportunities, but was like, hey, like, what's the most exciting thing to do? I was living with my best friend, and we were both like, well, let's just see how far we can go with it. and then if we run out of money, then we'll figure out what's going to happen. And so we were, like all startups, they start off in these like kind of hodgepodge environments, using all sorts of interesting sources for money. And
what was when you started the company, what was the value add? What was the...
Oh, yeah. The whole thing we were doing was taking waste plastic bottles,
yes.
Putting it through a chemical process, and then turning it into the materials used to make new bottles. Okay. Not even thinking about clothing or textiles at all. And then we went to San Francisco to start the company, and got like an outreach phone call from an apparel guy, and he was like, hey, have you ever thought of textiles? And I was like, no, never. Who cares about that? It's clothing. The bottle industry is way bigger, and completely changed my opinion of it in the span of 3 days doing research, and found this whole problem around people can't recycle clothing. And so that was really interesting, and I realized it's a lot. Everyone wears clothing. So it was always like, wow, that's interesting.
Who called you?
I honestly don't remember. I don't remember who did it. I think it was a guy that was a journalist that was reporting for a textile company part-time. I can't remember because I thought of it so little back then.
It was a voice from heaven.
Yeah, it was just a phone call by a guy. I don't even know who.
Watching you.
Yeah, I don't know.
So suddenly you're aware of this new industry that needs this kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so what happens then?
Then, well, first of all, we said, does it work technically? Can we take an old piece of clothing, break it down to its original components, and then make new fibers? That's the first check. That was like, yes, very quickly. So it's possible. Now, is it probable? And we realized, okay, there's an economic gap. The process today is not cost competitive with petroleum. How do we make it cost competitive? Thus ensues 2 years of hardcore research and development, not talking to anyone, saying, we know what the problem is. If we can make it cost competitive, it will work. It'll be awesome.
And where were the costs?
The costs were around just the process conditions. So originally the process was around a 10-step process. We did a lot of work to reduce that to a 3-step process that does the same thing. So that whole R&D endeavor was, it's really technically driven, and it was just, a long scientific process of incremental improvements day over day to get to where we are today.
So your value add here is taking this process that took a long time, a lot of steps, very cost intensive, and making it much more efficient.
Yeah. So we developed the process in, I would say, 2015. But then it really became interesting last year in late 2017 when we were doing a bunch of large-scale testing and realized, okay, there was something here before, but now it's like very probable that this will sort of change the world, and the path to success is very clear.
So what changed?
I think it was just a discussion. One day we sort of looked at the economics and we're like, wow, we've came a long way, and realized, wow, we're very close to getting this technology deployed. And you can make it very big and solve the problem almost overnight if you now have that understanding of your economics.
Okay, so tell us how it works without giving us the secrets.
So you have your old clothing, you throw it away traditionally. Instead, you give it to donate it, and those donation centers can't sell most of their material, so they'll give it to us. We take that old clothing, put it through a series of processes or reactors, and then produce a new fiber.
Okay. And can that clothing be anything?
Anything that has polyester in it.
Anything that has polyester in it?
In it.
Okay, so, for our listeners, those who are not up on this, there's been a big challenge with blended materials, right? Finding processes that can work with that. There's a number of processes that work with mono materials, one material.
Right.
But some of the breakthroughs have been, can we get it to work with
on blended
mixed
material?
And how does that fare in your situation?
Yeah, so we went through the same process, realized the blended material was the real problem. Most pieces of clothing are mixtures of cotton or polyester, generally both of them in 50-50 amounts. And then there's spandex and acrylic, others, but they're not used as much. It's mostly cotton or polyester, or a version of the two. So we said, hey, let's focus on the polyester, and then that's the whole focus of the process.
So if you put in a piece of clothing that's a 50-50, combination, what does your process do to it?
It takes out all of the stuff that isn't polyester. So the remaining material is a polyester resin that is reusable as a yarn. So it's almost like an extractive process. It takes off all the stuff that isn't that.
And this this process doesn't exist?
Yeah, so the technology was brand new. This sort of molecular separation of polymers.
So what happens? What goes on down there?
Yeah, it's essentially, it's like you're changing the environment, like the chemical environment of these polymers, so they don't want to stick to each other.
Okay.
They want to separate.
So polyester is built up of polymers.
Yeah.
In a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
And you inject what?
So we add a series of chemicals that sort of changes the affinity for each polymer. So each polymer now wants to hang out with other polymers instead of the ones that it's bonded to now.
Okay.
But it separates all the polymers out.
All right, and they turn into this resin.
Individual incredibly small fibers that you can then recover and turn back into the normal fibers that you know.
Wow. So you've developed a better process. Or is this a new?
It's a new thing. Yeah. It's a completely new process.
And I always have this feeling that there's really nothing new under the sun. Are there others working on this, but you got there first? Or
I think there's people that are working on the same sort of directional approaches, but the specifics are completely different. It's interesting. Textiles has seen no dramatic innovation in the last 80, 90 years. The same materials are being used. The same processes are being used. There's no one that's really looking at the core invention or the core science and taking an approach based on that. They're trying to fit the science to problems that exist today. It's very hard to do.
So, wow. So from your perspective, you've now gotten to the point where you know this process works.
Yes.
You separate out the polyester or just complete polyester. It gets breaking down into a resin. Then you can turn it into fiber again. How does that work? So
that's actually a very well-known process. So if you get the resin or the chip, as some people call it, then you can push that through a really small hole and spin a very long fiber from it.
Okay.
And so then the fiber you have is indistinguishable from fiber that you would get from a normal source, a petroleum-based source.
Okay. So now you've had this major breakthrough, because if you can do this and you can do it at scale, then everybody wants your technology. So you're suddenly have this massive breakthrough. Who are your clients?
So our clients are anyone who sells fiber today. So if you're a textile mill and you make fiber from oil, you make that fiber from oil and then you turn it into clothing, you knit it and weave it and then do all the sorts of processes to turn it into a finished garment. Then you sell that to a brand. Those are the companies that we work with. Okay. So supply chain companies, very large conglomerates that operate in Southeast Asia usually, those are the companies that we work with closest. Okay. And the brands get a lot of the benefit from that as well.
Right, so you're talking to recycling companies that collect, that resell. Exactly. And that could be various kinds of organizations.
You have small organizations in Chile, for example, you have very small organizations that collect things. You go to India, you have very large multinational conglomerates that are much larger than a number of the brands themselves that are doing this as well. So all sorts of companies.
And is the model now to license your technology to them, or to have them buy you, or are you working on figuring out how you want?
We work really closely with them, so we don't have a pure licensing model, but we also don't have a pure do-it-ourselves model. We work in a joint development, joint venturing type business model where we bring technology and other assets to the table, and then the other company brings a number of assets as well, and then we sort of form a joint venture around building these large plants.
So that's how you're working today.
Exactly.
You bring the sort of processes, they bring the other skills to build the plant.
Exactly.
And you find a way to agree on who gets what.
And then you just revenue share in a specific way. Okay. And I think in the chemicals industry, this works quite well.
Okay.
It's very hard to get pure licensing to work. It's also very hard to do everything yourself.
Right.
So
but you have a patent, and do those last for 20 years?
There's 15 to 20 years, depending on the specifics of the patent. Usually it's 15 years, sometimes it's 20 years.
Okay.
those are in play as well. We have a number of trade secrets or things that we just don't tell people what we're doing sometimes.
Sure.
So that prevent other moats. And then we have really robust relationships with suppliers and also brands that we trust and love.
Yeah.
So those are additional moats that we use.
Wow. So it sounds to me like you're at the verge of a major breakthrough in terms of scaling your company. Mm-hmm. You're 24 years old, and you didn't think this was ever in the cards, which is brilliant. What have you learned? I know that you've gone through a process very intensively.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been that many years.
Yeah.
And you're not a business person from the start.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So what are some things that you think you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I think there's two components to running a successful company. One is you have to have unique technology or a unique process to do things, something that adds value to the world in a unique way. So you have to have that first. And then if you have that, then you have to do a bunch of other things to get it right. So you have to learn management skills. You have to learn how do you run an effective company? How do you make it an interesting workplace for other people to come and build stuff with you? That's really important. Collaboration is very important inside of an organization. If you're working in the sciences, the type of people that you are working with are sometimes not as collaborative and more independent. So making sure that works really well. Getting the right support for hard technology is also hard. So raising the right money from the right people, getting the right support from institutional groups.
The list is endless.
It's a very long group. And so you essentially just have to be very good at coordinating.
Okay, and knowing your limitations.
Exactly, right? And that's a really good point. Knowing that you don't know everything and knowing what you're good at is I think, a very unheralded skill. No one talks about it. Our favorite thing is if you look at really good sports teams, they all have people that know their roles, right? If you know your role, don't try and do everything. I think a lot of founders and entrepreneurs try and do this. They try and do everything. It's a big mistake. You should find the people that are tacticians and excellent people at doing those jobs, bring those people in to help you, and you do what you're good at.
Okay. Very, very good advice. I'm thinking about some of the things we're hearing about microfibers, plastics in the oceans. Where does your technology come in? Is that still a problem, even if we can recycle things that they're going to shed?
Yeah.
Right.
It's very simple. There's no way to recover the materials once they've gone to the ocean. They're too small. Unless you want to filter the entire ocean, which is, we don't even know how big the ocean is.
And that's your next task.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone thinks they do, but no one really knows. Okay. So if it goes into the ocean, then you're screwed. So our whole belief is let's try and get the material before it gets to that aquatic environment.
So does it, now I'm talking to you as a biochemist, the shedding, as you understand it, where in the process does that happen? Do you know?
That happens, we do know. It happens in the ocean due to ultraviolet degradation. So,
but I'm thinking, if you have polyester that's being made or worn, doesn't shedding come from wearing it, from producing it?
The shedding comes from when you throw it away in the landfill and they throw this in the ocean. Then in the ocean, these things break down.
So there's no shedding before that?
There is a small amount, in washing machines, a very small amount. But the majority of it actually comes from the ocean itself. And I think we have seen this demonstrated in some very robust studies. One of the things I will say is it's a very poorly understood field right now. No one really knows exactly where everything is coming from. The studies that we've seen that we like their integrity of believe the material comes from once you've put a garment in the ocean, it then breaks down.
Right. We were at a conference recently where some of the leading scientists are saying just that. They don't know. There's so much research that's not clear, but some of your process may be a way to try to hinder that, but we don't know.
Okay. And it's also, if you have clothing that is recycled, then you're keeping it out of those landfills, and so you're not giving it a chance to go to the ocean.
So you hear the ambulance?
Yeah.
It's because we're in the attic, people. We're downtown Amsterdam, and things are happening. That was the sign of plastic alert. Okay. So I see how that links. That potentially, by not getting it into landfill or into the water, that could have an impact on reducing the shedding.
Exactly.
We don't know, but that's one option.
Exactly.
Okay. So, wow. So what are you imagining now for the future? What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's very simple. I believe by 2030, all of our clothes will be made from recycled materials. And we have a very robust plan to do that. There's a number of other people in the industry that are working towards similar goals from the brand side. Our vision is to build large-scale facilities that look like refineries, might seem like refineries, but they process old clothing instead of oil.
So let me keep us going there, because now we're getting into a whole other area that I didn't necessarily imagine we would discuss, but I know you have opinions on.
Yeah.
You know, that we're gathering investors. We've done that a couple of times, and other money people, because if I look at the big picture, I look, is there enough money out there to one, sort of develop some prototypes for new ideas, but secondly, to scale them, to go to the commercial phase? Because if you take another company, they have told me, you know, they could recycle 1% of the world's cotton, but they need 70 or 80 factories to do just 1% of the world's cotton. So if you start to extrapolate that, you see the kind of thing is, I know that you would have to build lots of facilities, and that requires a lot of capital. Do you see that available?
Yeah, I think right now the understanding, so this might be influenced by my location. So in California, access to capital for all sorts of stuff is, I would say, now more liquid than ever. I think the main issue is if there are good companies and good leadership staffs and good technologies being deployed, there is capital out there to meet that requirement. Okay. And so capital, I would never say is the limiting. It's very important. It's a very important factor, but I wouldn't say it's the limiting reagent or the limiting factor. I think the real thing is also you don't need nearly as much money from a risky capital perspective. There's lots of commercial debt and all sorts of interesting things that financing can bring up to finance these sort of things. You see it with solar all the time. Right. So there's. I would say that it is a capital-intensive industry, but the amount of capital you can deploy profitably in these like large-scale refinery sale systems is unmatched in any other industry.
So, do you think that you know, I'm often conscious of we need to get to a certain goal by a certain time frame, sustainability-wise. Yeah. We have our climate goals, our water goals, those sorts of things. Recycling is a means to an end. It's not the only thing, right? Because if we keep producing virgin, if we produce it using non-renewable sort of energy sources, we're still problematic. But given the value of what you're doing, we would need to build a lot of plants fairly quickly. Right. So do you have a vision on that?
Yeah. So building plants is tricky, but we saw with petroleum that if there's a way to do it profitably, plants can pop up very quickly all over the world. There's a very robust, what we call EPC, or engineering, procurement, and construction industry, which says, hey, if you build a plant here, we can replicate it very quickly all over the world. And so right now, I'll take a very specific example. Petroleum processing in the Middle East is happening very robustly because of this specific factor. So you can get to, significant, millions of tons per year in the matter of 5 years if you have the right engineering people involved.
All right. So you're optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Right, because you show them, it's clear, this works, let's just do it.
Yeah.
There are a number of other initiatives working with recycling. Right. I know that there's Hong Kong Rita has their process, and there's Worn Again, and what is the difference? Do you know the difference?
Yeah, I think there's I think everyone looks for this idea that you have different technologies, it's going to be different, and there's going to be a clear winner. I think that's not the case. It's never usually a technology question. If you look at the chemical industry today, there's a lot of bad technologies that are scaled better, and there's good technologies that aren't. It's really just a question of who is the founding team, who are the leadership staff, is the support group around them robust, and does that process make money? And I guess that's the major thing. There's also this idea of getting there first, which I also don't believe in. I think the best technology will win in the end. This is also not something we need to consider on a 1 to 2 year time frame. It's a 30 to 40 year time frame. And it's very important to have multiple people working on these problems. You don't really know if you're an investor, for example. You don't know who's going to be a winner because it's so early. So you don't have too much. It's very risky for traditional investors.
Okay, I know that you've been part of in this intense period, which you think is a long time. Yeah. But for me, it's like you're a baby, in a good way. But there's all these platforms that are emerging for good reason. Launch, right? They have Fashion for Good. There's this Ashoka platform. There's the Global Change Award. You've been involved in all of them.
Everything.
So you're good taking advantage of everything you can get. Do you have any view on, are these helpful? Are they, what would you recommend to harness their strengths and address their weaknesses?
Yeah, I would say a core belief for us early on was do whatever it takes to get the science to work. If the science works, then you can solve all the other problems. And so what that means is go and learn from as many people as possible. Go talk to as many people as possible. Take money from whoever you can take money from early on. That meant just learning as much as possible. And so all these programs offer different people that you can learn from. And I found that to be incredibly valuable. I wouldn't say that there's definitely positives and negatives to every program, but the net is that you have a better understanding of the industry, or a better relationship base, which only helps you. And at my no experience in fashion, no experience in company building, there was a rabid desire to just absorb information. As anyone who could talk to me, I would talk to, for sure. And so that was always like, why not just go and learn more? Learning is always a good thing to do.
Do you think there's any value in these platforms collaborating more, or are they good as individual things that just develop in a portfolio of potential options?
Yeah, I think there's natural collaboration if they're trying to solve the same problems, but I think it's actually good to have different approaches, because different approaches, also different geographies, different relationship bases. It helps. I think it helps because it creates a wider net, and problems that are worth solving are ones that a lot of people are going to work on.
Okay.
So it's also a good sign that there's all these programs.
So let me ask you one final question.
Yes.
I want you to look at the big picture.
Yeah.
What do you think needs to happen for this industry to really dramatically improve its sustainability performance? And I would say by that probably to reach key sustainability targets within science-based time frames.
Yeah. It's very simple to me. There has to be precedent or past things that people can point to and say, hey, look, they did that. It's useful to do. I think there's a lot of hubris and a lot of theoretical knowledge around if we did the circular economy stuff, or if we did sustainable living conditions, this would be profitable. But there's no real lots of, hey, people tried to do it and they got success with it. So establishing a precedent would be a huge thing, not only for us, but for other endeavors and groups in this general fashion area. Say, hey, investing in sustainability, or quote unquote sustainability, is not just a sustainable thing to do, it's an economic thing to do. Because at the end of the day, things have to make money, and the more money they make, the more better. And if these are aligned with sustainability goals, then that is the holy grail.
Brilliant. Well, it's a pleasure again to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
I'm sure that in another 6 months, things will be even more successful wildly, and who knows, man?
Who knows?
Maybe you'll be hiring me one day.
That would be intense. I can't even imagine it.
Good. Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Take care.